Skyward Sword is quite possibly the most rich in lore Zelda game, perhaps with the exception to Breath of the Wild. This game sets up so much for the entire series, origin stories such as the forging of the Master Sword, the beginnings of Hyrule, and even how Hyrule came to be cursed with never-ending evil and an unbreakable cycle of hatred. But it also gives us a look at how life once was, living in the sky on small islands, travelling by giant birds known as Loftwings.
Hey! Whatever happened to those big beautiful birds?
Well, we know what happened to a lot of the stuff down below the surface, but you're right, what happened to these birds? Well, I guess that's today's topic sorted, and looks like Dr. Wily will be joining us, whether he likes it or not.
But hey, didn't you cover this already a couple of years back? I can see it right here on the YouTubes!
Ah yes. Well, yeah, I have talked about this previously, but after seeing that video again, and with the recent release of the remake, my thoughts have changed quite a bit and go against my previous thoughts. Consider this remaster of that video, new and improved. So, let's take a look at exactly what happened to the Loftwings following the events of Skyward Sword, as we don't see them ever again down the timeline. As always for collabs, Wily, you can take away my iconic line.
Oh yeah! Be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or a drink, you lovelies, and send them in to get featured right here, and let's get right into this mystery. First of all, let's briefly look at how Skyward Sword ended. After Demise is sealed, Link and Zelda are reunited, and everything is all well and good. We see the pair standing atop the Hylia statue, just recently planted on the surface. As Zelda mentions wanting to stay down here and start a new life on what would soon become the Kingdom of Hyrule, we see both their Loftwings flying to the skies above, likely going back above the cloud barrier. However, this is the last time we see them in the timeline. Not once do they appear following this post-credit scene. So where did they go? And/or what happened to them? Well, together, your lovely boy Adam and I compiled a list of possible answers. Some of them are weak and just to get out of the way, and others are more probable. So, let's get into them!
We'll begin by knocking out the more unlikely scenarios, more so to clear them up in case anyone was thinking, well, what about this income, in the comments. Of course, this is our take, so keep that in mind. Anyway, the first outcome. Extinction. This is honestly highly unlikely, for multiple reasons in fact, but the main one being, for what reason would they? They definitely have more than enough food to sustain themselves, along with water, both in the sky and down on the surface. And with the Hylians now on the surface, these islands and any others possibly further out than what we know are now theirs for the taking. They wouldn't have died out for that reason. I also couldn't see anything killing them off. They can basically go wherever they want. There are also a pretty good amount of them, one for every person in the sky. So yeah, extinction is off the cards for me. Second possible outcome. They are still up there. Whilst a bit more likely than extinction, it's still not the outcome for me. We know that they were sent by Hylia as divine protection when her people were lifted to the sky. If that divine protection is still present, which we will actually cover shortly, then why would the birds just be chilling up there in the clouds, rather than down on the surface altitudes nearby the Hylians? For whatever reason, I don't see them still being up there and basically doing nothing. I suppose there is a shout to be made in that they almost be up there as a reserve for if anything ever happens again. A time in which Hylia would send them back out as divine protection. But surely it's not that much of a pain to just keep the so-called divine protection with the people following their descent to the surface. I'd also question why we never even see them flying around to just make sure the people are still present and alive and well. Yeah, they aren't just chilling up there for me. As mentioned, what's up with Hylia's divine protection? Has it vanished? Is it still present in another form? These are questions I'd also like to know the answer to. We know very little about this power. All we know is that she gifted everyone their own personal Loftwing. Whenever somebody is born, they are granted a Loftwing by the quote, divine protection of the goddess Hylia. Gaepora tells us a little bit about this, saying, everyone is but one half of a pair, themselves and their Loftwing. Further saying, we are only made whole by our Loftwings, the guardian birds that the goddess bestows upon each of us as a symbol of her divine protection. So, did this divine protection vanish upon their descent to the surface? I think there may be some ground towards the idea that Hylia perhaps withdrew the protection, as it was there in the first place as she moved her people to the sky. And now that they've returned to the lands below, the people don't need these birds. But for me, that's not cutting it. Yes, they definitely aren't as needed, but they would still serve a very good purpose. What if the people were attacked on the surface, their Loftwings would be a quick and safe escape. They'd also come in handy for traversing the land and exploring a very new world to them. It doesn't make sense for this scene to essentially be Hylia taking this so-called protection back. They definitely left and vanished, but I do not personally see Hylia's protection being why. In my honest opinion, it doesn't make sense for it to be taken back. This is also a good time to mention / segue into a rather key detail regarding the Loftwings further down the timeline. So I'll hand this over to Dr. Wiley. Take it away.
Across the entire timeline, more or less, the design of the famous Hylian shield has a strong depiction of the Loftwing. This is a huge piece of symbolism in the Zelda series, dating all the way back to the very beginning of the timeline. So the people of Hyrule definitely haven't forgotten or let their existence fade away. Do the people maybe know something about their disappearance, and this is to honor them and Hylia? We can't say for sure, but it's possible. Honor, definitely. Knowing what happened? Probably not. Hylia withdrawing her divine protection seems unlikely, and honestly a bit against her own people. But there's one other potential outcome that we believe is very possible. Further down the timeline in games like Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker, we can find a species of bird called the Kargerok. They have multiple variations and alternatives, such as the Helmarok King, the Twilight Kargerok, and even the mighty dragon Argarok. The base version of this family, the Kargerok, has 2 versions across 2 games. In Twilight Princess, we see this featherless pterodactyl-looking bird, and then there's the Wind Waker's fully feathered bird. Obviously, the version seen in the Wind Waker is much closer to the Loftwing, so we will be looking more at them. But we do have to explain what happened to them in Twilight Princess. Why are they so different compared to the Wind Waker version? Well, we can put this down to the events of Twilight Princess. In that game, both Ganondorf and Zant invade Hyrule, bringing the infectious Twilight to the light world of Hyrule. And this infectious setting changes all living things. It mutates living creatures, one of which is the Kargerok. In the Twilight-infected areas, they turned into Twilit Kargerok, sometimes even going up in size to become Twilit Carrier Kargerok. Now, it's possible that in the midst of this infection, some creatures were caught in between the infection and the light world. Perhaps prior to the invasion of Hyrule, the Kargeroks did appear with feathers and looked similar to the ones seen in the Wind Waker. And of course, they would also look a lot more like Loftwings. But due to the Twilight invasion, some turned completely to Twilight mutations, and others got caught in between and turned into these featherless, slightly evil-looking birds. We don't really have a definitive answer, but there's a possibility it was due to Ganon and Zant's dark influences. But in the more light-hearted Wind Waker, we see them as these large feathered birds, being very similar to the appearance of a Loftwing. If we put them side by side, the resemblance is uncanny. The only major detail that appears a little different is the mouth. It's still large and yellow, but the shape is slightly different. But that could easily be down to their lifestyle between the ending of Skyward Sword and the time of the Wind Waker. Possibly the way they hunt food or eat food. But over long periods of time, minor changes like this are nothing. The Kargeroks in the Wind Waker look and act very similar to the Loftwings. Assuming they are the same and this is what came to be of the Loftwings, the only difference now is that they are hostile towards the hero. And while this might seem odd considering they were Hylia's divine protection, they were her divine protection. That age has long passed and these birds have been wild for God knows how long. They would have changed a lot in behavior over the many ages of being a free and wild species. Meaning what likely happened to Hylia's divine power is that it was more released than retracted, keeping the Loftwing around, but no longer bound to her people.
This means that over the games between these 2 games, the Loftwing changed in looks and behaviour, and over time, gained a new name, probably because it's different people who see them. You gotta remember, this is a long time between each other. The Kargerok. If we analyse them side by side, we can see just how similar they are, both in flight and on foot. However, one difference you will notice with the Kargerok is that they vary a bit more in size. I'd personally put this down to the lack of Hylian partnership, no longer being bound and there to solely assist Hylians. Their size became a bit more loose to say. That, or these could just be younger birds, that's probably more likely. We also see the Helmarok King, a much bigger bird and more or less glorified Kargerok, but with a helm. Now if we compare these two images, the top being a Kargerok from the Wind Waker, and the bottom being a Loftwing from Skyward Sword, we can see that these two birds have to be connected. Not buying it? Well, look at the neck. They both have long necks. They both have yellow legs, claws, and mouths. And the wingspan feathers both consist of this colour on top, then white below. Obviously there are minor differences such as art style differences and the shape of the mouth, but overall, they aren't all that different. Now of course Nintendo wouldn't actually make this the case. No, never in a million years. But in the eyes of a theorist, speculator, among many other things, this is extremely interesting to look at. Of course we cannot say for sure, but...
With what I've looked at today, this appears to be the most likely and logical outcome. They simply were left on their own now that they didn't have any purpose. Hylia never removed them from the world, they certainly didn't go extinct, they just evolved. Like many other species from Skyward Sword have been speculated to have done so as well. This is what we think, but let us know what you think down below in the comments.
You gotta remember, there's a huge period of time between these games, and if Hylia let go of her divine protection, so to say, and just let the Loftwings become their own thing, part of nature, this is very possible. We clearly don't see the Loftwing as the Loftwing following Skyward Sword, but their memory lives on, and descendants, so to say, maybe out there. Thanks a ton for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content. Big thanks to Dr. Wily for joining me in this video. We did another fun video over on his channel in a sort of Braveheart style, so check it out for the link below or card at the end. As always, a huge special thank you goes out to all of my supporters across Patreon and YouTube. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout out upon joining and your name at the end of every video, then consider supporting. Again, thanks for watching, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.